Hello there. Now, if you've subscribed to the channel already and seen a few of my recent videos, you'll know I really like these new Marvel CMFs that have just come out this year. And today's video will be taking a look at every single piece from all 12 of the minifigures. I don't already have all 12 of them, though I have enough duplicates that I've needed to find out what I can do with them, and looking at how every single piece from every one of the Marvel CMFs can be used. Now, as I said, I've got a few dupes myself, so like with Hawkeye, I've given him some plain arms, and now he's suddenly the Hawkeye we saw in the Avengers. Yes, it's a purple torso, not got the red bit in the middle, but it's close enough that it's distinguishable from the more recent Hawkeye, and especially if you give Hawkeye the more bandaged up face, them sleeves make all the difference. You can add him with an original Avengers mock. So that is the level that we're going to be going. And now, of course, what do we do with Hawkeye's arms? Well, you'll have to watch later on in the video to find out. But Wolverine's arms have also been given to the older Wolverine that comes with the mech. You can see it just improves the minifigure so much. It's a shame we couldn't have given him boots, but the suit is full yellow anyway, so it looks sort of odd with the blue details on the legs. And now for the female Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, rather than Clint Barton, we've got this hairpiece which is very unique, and it does actually look like my fiance's hair, so we have whacked one on her minifigure. Though we got two duplicates, so this hairpiece is actually perfect for this dark red and blue ninja from the Ninjago line. So of course we had to get Ninjago in the video somehow. And speaking of Wolverine's boots earlier, they are perfect to make a custom Cyclops figure. I do think the torso for Beast would actually be perfect rather than the minifigure torso from the Ninjago line, though Wolverine's head does also look quite good. It's got the glasses on, and just give him some short hair, some yellow gloves, and you've got a custom Cyclops. Whilst we're on with the X-Men and Wolverine, you can use Wolverine's torso to create this custom rogue here. You've got the nice hairpiece that is from the Narcissa Malfoy. I didn't realise we've only ever got one Narcissa Malfoy minifigure, so I'm very happy that I had that in my collection. Just had some green arms, green legs, yellow hands. Again, I'll be covering this later on in the video, so if you're not following along, just hold on. But I've also got Professor X, Charles Xavier himself. He might look like he's not using any of the CMF parts, and you're actually correct, but someone who does have a suit is Mr. Knight, and not only is Mr. Knight perfect for this, but really anyone else who has a white suit, which Charles does wear in a few of the episodes from the animated series. Now, you've also seen my Padme minifigure, and there's actually an Ahsoka that I used with the CMF Moon Knight minifigure, so that is on the channel. I'll show you that later. I've also got this minifigure here who I'm not going to name just yet, but uses not only Kate Bishop's torso and head, but also Clint's arms, and just added purple legs and the helmet. And you've also, of course, got Lucky and the Owl from the Hawkeye series, which, as they're animals, they can really be used anywhere. So you've seen a few of my customs, but now let's break down every single minifigure piece from the Marvel CMF line used in other minifigures. So taking a look at the first minifigure we have here is, of course, Agatha. I've tried to keep these in the order that they show them on the little leaflet you get with the minifigures, but you've already seen most of Agatha used for my custom Padme minifigure, so that makes use of the torso, the legs, the cape piece. But what about the head and the hair? Well, the hair does well for Padme's nightgown, which is when she wakes up and Anakin's having his nightmares, or really any other Padme styled outfit where her hair is down. And of course, the head is such an iconic villain look. You could use it for nearly any Disney villain. I thought of Cruella first, so that is the image on screen, and I think it definitely represents the younger Cruella and just the cheekiness of the Disney villains very well. And I did say every piece of the Marvel CMF line, we will also be including accessories into that. The book, of course, represents some older text, so does well to represent the Jedi text if you're not picking up the new Star Wars diorama. And as for the little flick piece on the hands, it's a great play piece if we ever get a Palpatine's arrest or Palpatine's throne room playset in the future. I hope they come with a few of these pieces so that Palpatine can blast Windu out of the window. as I really think that's an interesting play piece and different to the launchers that the playsets usually come with. Now, on to Moon Knight number 2, you can see Ahsoka is the main custom for this character. I've used all the pieces from my Moon Knight dupe, well, the torso, legs and cape, to create Ahsoka, and it does look really cool, but the head is also more of a mummy style of look, so can be used for that, and the hood piece definitely represents the same shape of Ezio's from a few of the Assassin's Creed games. I know my brother loves to play them, so he'll definitely like that custom. And if you want to see the other pieces used to make these custom minifigures, let me know down below and I'll make a much longer video detailing all the other pieces to build these minifigures. Now on to Moon Knight's accessories. You've of course got the Beetle, which is similar to the Beetle amulet from the Blue Beetle line of DC Comics, and now there's a movie. But Moon Knight's weapon is the more interesting piece. I've connected it to this 1x1 clip piece and made it represent Loki's helmet. Now it might look a bit odd on a Loki minifigure, but of course if you've got the Loki minifigure, chances are you've already got that headpiece. This is more for display purposes and would look cool in the background of a Lego Marvel set or on display in your city. Now for Mr. Knight, you've got the white suit. You've seen me use it for Charles Xavier, but if you add the legs onto this minifigure, it can also represent Kingpin from the Daredevil line. Now, Kingpin does have a few differences, the red rose and the bow tie, though this tie definitely could be a bow tie if you looked at it with your eyes almost closed. But I think this definitely represents Kingpin very well, and if you're creating a mock, Mr. Knight is definitely who you should be looking to. So, the head again is a bit mummified. I couldn't really think of much for the Moon Knight heads because they are wrapped up and covered, and even the other side for Moon Knight has the white glowing eyes and doesn't really represent many of the other characters that Oscar Isaac portrays or looks like. So the easiest bet is to create some mummies. Perhaps you have some other Lego City costumes and some white hands laying around, because they don't need to be completely mummified and can of course be wearing some more regular clothes and just wandering around your city for Halloween. Now as for Mr. Knight's accessories, of course the goldfish box is just the goldfish. You can use this as a Nemo display or a little reference, an Easter egg. And the 2 bars that he comes with, of course the minifigure is going to be turned into Kingpin, but these bars can definitely be used for Daredevil. Now Werewolf by Night is one of my more interesting customs, as you whack on a set of Chewbacca's legs and you can actually create the Beast Titan from Attack on Titans. I think this is a great use, and especially if you're going to build a micro-scale version of either the scene from Attack on Titans or a little village that this Beast Titan is marching through. It is great. You can see the size of him based on this picture here. And of course, this leaves you with a Chewbacca who is legless. So whack the shorts on Chewie and you've got a different Wookiee to add either to your village or just wandering around the background of one of the Star Wars sets. And as for the accessory, you've got this red amulet, which definitely reminds me of the Reality Stone. You can definitely add this to the background of some Marvel sets and even to some scenes where they are sacrificing their loved ones to get their hands on it. Now for She-Hulk, there are plenty of green characters that can use her head, and even plenty of characters that have the long green hair for that hairpiece. But the body, I was thinking more of some sort of gym attire and workout clothes. You can see on the right there is one that Lego have made, and you can definitely repurpose the torso and the legs to create some outfit that's got purple, white and green all throughout. Just add a regular head and give it some yellow hands, and you can add that to your gym. Now as for She-Hulk's accessories, you've got the phone calling Wong, which of course can be given to Doctor Strange. Though he was at one point the Sorcerer Supreme, he is still not above mobiles and is an easy way to reach Wong, especially if She-Hulk could. And as for Emil Blonsky or Abomination's court file, you can add this to some sort of court scene. Perhaps if you're creating another Daredevil mock like the office that they work at, this can be whacked in a drawer or a cupboard, or even if you're creating a courtroom mock that is nothing to do with Marvel, this would look very nice on the desk of one of the lawyers. Now for Hawkeye, they do sort of mix, but before we get to the minifigures, we'll take a look at the accessories, because the owl and the dog can be used for just that, the owl and the dog. There's nothing particular that make these animals the animals that appear in the show. I mean, Perhaps Lucky's one eye sort of gives it away, but these can be added around your city or used amongst other sets. Much like the pizza and the bow and arrows we get, they can be added anywhere else. The pizza can be added to restaurants and that, and though there is the reference with the hit the spot on the front of the pizza, if you have enough of these, you can just create a tower of pizza boxes and add them to really anywhere in your displays. And now for Hawkeye, we're making use of the Hawkeye torso though, replacing the arms with the fleshy coloured as we're representing Hawkeye from the first Avengers movie. I think the hair still is pretty good for this character and so's the face, but we're actually taking the legs from Kate Bishop's and adding them onto Clint, giving him some more detail on what was otherwise some plain black legs, and of course giving him the straps and the extra details with the belt with the other arrowheads hanging down, much like we see throughout not only the Avengers but also when he shows up in Thor. And this of course leaves Clint's arms and Kate's torso, which you can put together along with the black hands that remain, and even make use of Kate's face, whack that on the minifigure alongside some plain purple legs and one of the old Naboo helmets or any helmet you've got that fits the scene to create a custom Zam Wessel. Now this is the minifigure you saw at the start of the video. It looks pretty cool and I'll definitely be adding them to my minifigure collection. So Hawkeye's legs are of course just plain black legs, and they are used in over 1,000 minifigures. There's currently 1,454 minifigures that use this piece, so you can really add them to any of your minifigures that need black legs. Really the possibilities are endless. If you've got a spare torso and a spare head, whack them on these black legs and you have a whole new bystander for your display. Now for the rest of Kate's minifigure pieces, you've got her arms, which I think go well as an Apocalypse from X-Men, keeping with the X-Men theme a little bit, and I just think the shoulder pad and the wrist strap look really cool, especially if you're displaying the minifigure from the left hand side, as you won't want to see that magenta arm. But you could even reuse Hawkeye's torso here if you've got one that better represents the original costume, and the only hard part would be working out the head. But that just leaves us with her hairpiece, which looks great on this Ninjago minifigure as it does represent them quite well, and this Ninjago figure didn't originally come with a hairpiece, so if you do have her, you might as well use the hairpiece when the mask comes off. And on to Goliath. I mean, this head really looks like the uncle from the Miles animated Spider-Man movies, Into the Spider-Verse, and I really can't see anyone else now because it just looks so much like him that. But I'm sure there's so many other custom characters you can use this headpiece for, so I'll leave that for you to decide. And before we get to the rest of the figure, each of these minifigures come with 2 micro-scaled Ant-Man figures, which means if you do have a duplicate, you have at least 4 of them if you don't have any more duplicates. So not only can you use this to recreate a micro-scale of the scene that happens in Quantumania, where you've got all the Ant-Men piling up on top of each other, but you can just add this around your display, especially on Marvel sets, to show that Ant-Man has been there. And it's a fun little Easter egg for the keen-eyed to spot. Now the hairpiece for Goliath is definitely a better hairpiece for Finn from Rise of Skywalker than the one that Lego gave. It's not too much an improvement, but definitely is better than the one they use, so you can definitely be sure to add it to Finn for his newer hairstyle, and I'm sure there's many other characters that we would share that opinion over. But the torso, legs and arms are definitely closer to an ARC Trooper than I think pretty much any other minifigure. Of course you might see these and think of a different character, but with the black at the top of the torso for the pauldron, and you got the blues and greys for the Karmas on the legs, you've got all the detail on the arms. I think these are best used for an ARC Trooper, and especially if you can get your hands on a custom helmet, or perhaps wait until Lego put out their own helmet of, say, Fives for instance. This would definitely look very cool as a custom figure. And now on to Echo. I think it was the leg that gave this character away, but I think Hiccup is a perfect example of where these pieces can be used, and I'm not really that fussed with the torso and arms, so you'd get a way of using the torso, arms and legs from Echo to represent Hiccup. Now you might want to add an armor piece over the top just to represent the armor that Hiccup does wear over his shoulders, but all you'd really need is a head and hair piece, which let's look where we can use Echoes. So we do have a Fennec Shand minifigure, though it wasn't made too accessible to many people, as it was only in the Boba's throne room and some of the pricier sets like the Justifier. So if you don't have a pure Lego Fennec Shand, consider using Echo's headpiece and hair when making your customs, as I think it looks really close, and especially with more hair on the head, I think it looks a bit closer to how Fennec actually looks in the shows and animated Bad Batch series, compared to the very thin hairpiece that Lego ended up giving her. But of course that is down to personal opinion, and for Echo's accessories you've of course got the 2 studs that can be used pretty much anywhere, but this one tan piece is exclusive to only this minifigure and the new microscale Hogwarts, at least at the time of this video going out. So if you're trying to piece out this set, definitely consider picking up the minifigure. It's the cheapest way you can pick it up other than buying the set yourself. And of course that goes for other mocks you might be creating. This piece might come in very handy. And on to the Beast minifigure as we approach the final 3 figures, all of which are X-Men, and the accessories for Beast are quite simple. You've got the mug and the scientific equipment. The scientific equipment isn't limited to 1 per lab, so you could line these up on the desk, and even if you've got up to 5 or 6 of these Beast minifigures as duplicates, which if you do, check out my video, don't be wasting your money unless you really want 5 or 6 Beast minifigures, as there is a hack to finding out which minifigure you're picking up. But of course if you're ordering them there is no way of knowing, so if you do end up with many of these Beast minifigures, the X-Men mugs can be spread out to not only the other X-Men in this set, such as Wolverine and Storm, but also all the other X-Men minifigures you can create customs of using these pieces, or perhaps you even have some old ones from the old Marvel sets. And whilst we're speaking of building custom X-Men, of course you've seen Scott or Cyclops already at the start of the video, but I didn't have a Beast minifigure, so if you do have a duplicate of Beast and Wolverine, you can use the legs from Wolverine alongside the Beast torso and arms, whack some yellow gloves, perhaps a yellow hip piece to make it look a bit better, Wolverine's head to get them white goggles, and a shorter hairpiece. And you can even then use the head for someone like Sully, where you've got the scary raw face on one side and perhaps he's reading a book in the university, which is why he needs the glasses. The hairpiece can be for none other than Ludwig. I really couldn't think of another character that has this sort of hair, so Ludwig's a perfect fit, and especially if you're trying to custom make some Mario characters, it's great that you've got Ludwig's hairpiece. Now, the legs I was torn between 2 characters. Of course you've got Cookie Monster, who doesn't have any detail on his official Lego minifigure legs, but I was tilting more towards the X-Men, as these could be legs for Mystique, and you could create a custom Mystique using your spare Beast. Speaking of Wolverine, let's look at the Wolverine minifigure. You've seen the legs and the head used, and the Sentinel accessory has also been used in a mock of mine where I created a mech of the Sentinel, so check that out, the video is up. But the arms can be used and added to Wolverine's mech minifigure, just to give him that extra detail. Of course, you could add the legs if you wanted to, but this particular suit that I was recreating has the yellow legs, so there's not much more detail needed for this minifigure. And the torso can be used to create Rogue, who you saw earlier on in the video, though the only other improvement I wish I could make was adding Doc Ock's dual molded yellow and green legs. But as I do not have the minifigure, I don't think I'll be searching for these, as the green doesn't look too bad itself. Now earlier on I said the Goliath helmet would come later on in the video, and it's with this Wolverine helmet, as there's not really too much you can do with these specially molded and printed helmets except for display them either in your city, like the minifigures got some Black Series helmets, or perhaps made its own custom costumes. And you can also add these around your Marvel builds to just add a nice reference to a different character. Now on to the final minifigure. I think this is probably the best one that I've made the custom of. You've got Storm, and you could probably use the hairpiece for ice cream, and of course you've got that new cape that would look really good on some custom minifigures. But I really think I've blown this out of the park, and I don't think you could get a better custom than this. Of course it uses every single piece from Storm, and that character is Mystique. Now this isn't just Mystique's original form, this is in fact when Mystique disguises herself as Storm, and I really think this minifigure custom is amazing. I mean, there's nothing really you can add to make her look more like Storm apart from Storm's pieces. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did find it useful, do let me know by giving this a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments what other pieces you've used to create customs from this Marvel CMF line. And subscribe so you see more content such as this, other LEGO reviews, hauls and more LEGO mocks. So stick around. May the bricks be with you always.